Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for the 27th of September 2022. Before we begin, an important announcement. Tomorrow, that is the 28th of September, join us live at 8 p.m. for the 87th episode of our International Relations this week. This session will be handled by our expert faculty, Chetan sir. Also, a gentle reminder to join the Telegram group for regular updates on current affairs related to the UPSC exam. Beginning with the first question of the day. It reads, consider the following statements about Double Asteroid Redirection Test Mission or the DART mission for short. There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, it is a project being headed by the European Space Agency. And the second statement reads, the mission involves crashing the spacecraft into the Didymos asteroid. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now let us understand the context first. This article from today's The Indian Express takes note of NASA's DART mission. DART stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test. The DART spacecraft would collide into Dimorphos. Dimorphos is a small asteroid that is the moon of a larger space rock or asteroid called the Didymos. Now what is the objective of this mission? The objective of this mission is to provide for a proof of principle demonstration that hitting an incoming asteroid with a projectile can nudge it into a different path. This could be useful in the case of a dangerous oncoming asteroid on collision course with Earth. Such a nudge provided by a transfer of momentum can change the trajectory from a direct hit to a near miss on the Earth. Coming back to the question. The first statement is wrong. Why? Because this is a project being headed by NASA, US Space Agency. Note, DART is a joint project between NASA and the Johns Hopkins Applied Physical Laboratory. Consider the second statement. The second statement is also wrong. Why? Because the mission involves crashing the spacecraft into the Dimorphos asteroid and not the Didymos asteroid. Since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this question would be D, neither 1 nor 2. Next, moving on to the second question. The question reads, the recently unveiled Dharamshala Declaration is associated with which of the following aspects? The four options are as follows. Option A, disaster management. Option B, climate change. Option C, tourism. And option D, sports. Now what is the context? September 27th is celebrated by the UN World Tourism Organization as World Tourism Day. And in this context, the Serving Union Minister of Tourism, Culture and Development of Northeastern Region, Shri G. Kishan Reddy, has penned an article in today's The Hindu. This article takes note of the Dharamshala Declaration, which was adopted at the end of the National Conference of State Tourism Ministers. Note, the Dharamshala Declaration affirms commitment towards developing sustainable and responsible tourism in India and aims to position India as a global leader in the tourism sector by 2047. Additionally, this article also discusses about the national tourism policy. Some of the major aspects of this policy include recovery of tourism to the pre-pandemic level by the year 2024, ensuring 250 billion contribution to the GDP by the year 2030, and a long-term revenue goal of around $1 trillion by the year 2047. With this understanding, let us come back to the question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that the correct answer is option C, tourism. Moving on to the third question. It reads, consider the following statements about La Nina. The three question statements are as follows. La Nina refers to the El Nino southern oscillation phase in which sea surface temperatures are warmer than normal. The second statement reads, in the Indian context, La Nina is associated with good rainfall during the monsoon season. And the third statement reads, the triple dip La Nina being witnessed currently is the first such instance in recorded history and could be attributable to global warming and climate change. How many of the above statements is or are correct? Now what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express takes stock of the monsoon rainfall in India. The article notes with concern that Though the overall rainfall during the current season starting from June has been 7% above its long period average, however, the distribution of the rainfall has not been good. While rains have been deficient across the Gangetic Plains from Uttar Pradesh to West Bengal, western, central and even southern India have received excess rainfall. The untimely and excess or deficient rainfall, all these factors are not good for the agricultural sector in India, which continues to be reliant heavily on the monsoon rainfall. Additionally, the article notes that the triple dip La Nina event does not augur well to this monsoon trend. Now, let us understand the term triple dip La Nina. Before we understand triple dip, let us understand what we mean by La Nina. Please note the periodic warming and cooling of surface waters in the equatorial Pacific Ocean region is described as El Nino Southern Oscillation. It basically has two main phases, El Nino and La Nina. While La Nina refers to the ENSO phase in which sea surface temperatures are cooler than normal, El Nino refers to warmer than normal sea surface temperature. Both of these have opposite impact on the rainfall during the monsoon season in India. While El Nino is known to suppress monsoon rainfall, La Nina is associated with good rainfall during the monsoon season. Now, let us understand what we mean by triple dip. Note, as compared to El Nino, La Nina have longer runs. That is, La Nina events can be of multi-year duration. That is, they can continue for more than 12 months, while El Nino are more likely to be a single year event. The ongoing La Nina phase of the equatorial Pacific Ocean has been predicted to persist for at least another 6 months. This would make it one of the largest ever La Nina episodes in recorded history. Please note there have been previous instances wherein the La Nina phase has extended into its third year, and this is not the first time. Coming back to the question, the first statement is wrong. Why? Because La Nina phase includes sea surface temperatures which are cooler than normal. The second statement is correct because La Nina is associated with good rainfall during the monsoon season in India. Consider the third statement. This statement is wrong. Why? Because this is not the first such instance of a triple dip La Nina being recorded. We have had previous instances too. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this would be option A, one statement only. Moving on to the fourth question. It reads, which of the following statements about Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD for short, is or are correct? There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, it is an intergovernmental organization of which India is a founding member and with an objective to stimulate economic progress and world trade. The second statement reads, the World Economic Outlook is a flagship publication of the organization. Please have a look at the options given. What is the context? A recent OECD report flags global recession concerns. It notes with concern that the global economic growth is slowing more than that was forecasted a few months ago in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The report notes energy and inflation crisis risks snowballing into recessions in major economies of the world. In this context, let us briefly understand what is the OECD. Note, the OECD is an intergovernmental organization which is headquartered in Paris. It was founded in the year 1961 to stimulate economic progress and world trade. Currently, it has 38 member countries. Notably, the majority of OECD members are high-income economies with a very high Human Development Index and are generally regarded as developed countries. Note, India is not a member of the OECD. With this understanding, let's get back to the question. From our previous discussion, it becomes clear that the first statement is wrong. Why? Because India was not a founding member of OECD, nor is it a current member of OECD. Consider the second statement. This statement is also wrong. Note, the World Economic Outlook report is brought out by the International Monetary Fund and not the OECD. Since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this would be option D, neither of the statements. Moving on to the last question of the day. This is a question from the UPSC 2019 Prelims paper. The question reads, which one of the following national parks lies completely in the temperate alpine zone? The four options are as follows. Option A, Manas National Park. Option B, Namdapha National Park. Option C, Nuora Valley National Park. And option D, Valley of Flowers National Park. Now, before we get down to discussing the answer, let us understand the term temperate alpine zone. When we mean alpine forests, they are generally at an altitude ranging between 2500 to 3500 meters above sea level. While the word temperate implies the zone lying between the tropics and the polar region. The temperate zone is characterized by broadleaf and coniferous forests, which includes trees such as oaks, maples, rhododendrons, and birch. Now let us consider these options given. Note, the Manas National Park is situated at an altitude of about 60 to 100 meters above mean sea level. Hence, it cannot support a alpine zone. The Namdapha National Park has an altitudinal variation of 200 meter to 4500 meter. This is a very large altitudinal variation. Hence, this national park cannot lie completely in the temperate alpine zone. Hence, option B also cannot be our answer. Next, consider Nuora Valley National Park. Note, this is located in the state of West Bengal, and its altitude varies from 183 to 3200 meters. So this too cannot lie completely in the temperate alpine zone. That leaves us with Valley of Flowers National Park. Note, this is located in the state of Uttarakhand and is situated at an altitude of about 3500 meters above sea level, and so it lies completely in the temperate alpine zone. Next, moving on to the fact of the day, Foreign Trade Policy 2015 to 2020. What is the context? In the backdrop of requests from export promotion councils and leading exporters, Commerce Ministry has decided to continue with the current foreign trade policy 2015-20 for another 6 months starting from October 1st. Notably, in the recent days, exporters and industry bodies have strongly urged the government that in view of the prevailing volatile economic and geopolitical situation globally, it would be advisable to extend the current foreign trade policy for some time, and after that take consultations before coming out with a new trade policy. In this context, let us understand the major provisions of the foreign trade policy of 2015-20. This trade policy provides a framework for increasing exports of goods and services, as well as generation of employment and increasing value addition in the country. A major focus of this policy is to improve the ease of doing business. And as part of this, the move towards paperless working in 24/7 environment will be a major focus. This trade policy introduced two new schemes, namely the Merchandise Exports from India scheme for export of specified goods to specified markets and the Services Exports from India scheme for increasing exports of notified services. Additionally, duty credit scrips have been issued under these two schemes, and the goods imported against these scrips are fully transferable. Also, measures have been taken to give a boost to export of defense and high-tech items. That is all we have for today's discussion. If you are liking our initiatives, please do like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you for being with us.